Hello, everyone. Now, as you know, Michael Jordan fans are the worst sports fans of all time. And one of the many reasons why is because these people really believe that load management is bad. And today's NBA players started it. And all of today's NBA players do it. And no NBA player in the past did it. Now, I am going to explain to you why this is ridiculous. Here are the reasons why, in no particular order. First, they are disrespecting all of the other NBA people. Next, they are dismissing all of the other NBA people. Next, when they claim to respect the game and then they disrespect the game, they are contradicting themselves. Next, when they claim to love the game and then they dismiss the game, they are contradicting themselves. Next, Michael Jordan fans have a history of always trying to find a way to make Michael Jordan the number one NBA player of all time. So that right there shows you that they're not reliable. Next, understand why Michael Jordan fans are saying this. It's because they're just trying to find a way to make Michael Jordan the number one NBA player of all time. So that right there shows you that they're not reliable. Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of the players that Michael Jordan played with don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of the players that Michael Jordan played against don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of the owners, general managers, coaches, and other NBA people that Michael Jordan played for don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of NBA Hall of Famers, lots of NBA legends, lots of NBA scouts, and lots of NBA experts don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that Michael Jordan doesn't agree with them? Next, since lots of these people don't agree with them, why do Michael Jordan fans sometimes reference one or more of these people for one or more topics? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that usually the only people who think this are Michael Jordan fans? Next, if this was the other way around and they were an NBA Hall of Famer or some other NBA person and they found out that there was a younger NBA fan who wasn't there when they played, who doesn't have that much tape of them, who isn't an expert on the past NBA and so on, and they found out that this younger NBA fan said this thing, they wouldn't agree with that fan. Next, if some non-Michael Jordan fan said this thing and it went against Michael Jordan, the Michael Jordan fans wouldn't agree with that non-Michael Jordan fan. Next, Michael Jordan fans have a contradiction. They always ask people who disagree with them if they were there when Michael Jordan played, if they went to his games, if they saw his games live on TV, and so on. And yet, they don't ask themselves these same type of questions when it comes to lots of other NBA Hall of Famers. If they did, they would know that it would go against them, and they wouldn't come to this kind of conclusion. Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this kind of thing for some other NBA players? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this kind of thing for some other players who played other sports? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this kind of thing for some other people and some other things when it comes to other things outside of sports? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this when it comes to who they rank as the number 2 NBA player of all time and the number 3 NBA player of all time and the number 4 NBA player of all time and so on? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this when it comes to who they rank as the number 1 player and the number 2 player and the number 3 player and so on when it comes to other sports? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this when it comes to the number 1 person or the number 1 thing or the number 2 person or the number 2 thing or the number 3 person or the number 3 thing and so on when it comes to other things outside of sports? Next, Michael Jordan fans are putting today's NBA players in a lose-lose situation. If they don't do load management, they dismiss it. If they do load management, they hold it against them. Next, Michael Jordan fans are putting the past NBA players in a win-win situation. If they don't do load management, they give them credit. If they did load management, they dismiss it. Next, a player can dominate this game, be above average, be average, or anything else, whether they did load management or not. Next, I want you to think about something logical. Is it logical to assume that load management is bad? Next, is it logical to assume that today's NBA players started it? Next, is it logical to assume that all of today's NBA players do it? Next, is it logical to assume that no NBA player in the past did it? Next, Michael Jordan fans have a contradiction. Michael Jordan fans are always telling people that winning is the most important thing. Well, some players are doing this thing on load management partly because they want to be ready for the playoffs so that they can have a better chance to win. So when Michael Jordan fans question them, they are contradicting themselves. Next, why are Michael Jordan fans only questioning the players for doing this thing on load management? Why don't they question the coaches and the general managers and the owners and the NBA for allowing it to happen? Now, some Michael Jordan fans will say that they do question other people, and sure, some do, but usually they question the players. And when they question the other people, they're usually just doing it because they're trying to find a way to tear down the current NBA. Next, Michael Jordan fans have a contradiction. Lots of Michael Jordan fans do load management in their jobs, which is not a bad thing. So why do they question NBA players for doing load management? Next, use some common sense. If Michael Jordan fans knew someone in the NBA and that person wanted to do some load management, they would not question that person. Next, if Michael Jordan fans themselves were in the current NBA, they would probably do some load management. Next, NBA legends in the past did some load management, but Michael Jordan fans do not question any of those NBA legends. Next, if any of those NBA legends played in the current NBA, they would probably do some load management. Next, NBA legends that played in the time that Michael Jordan was in the NBA did some load management. Next, if any of those NBA legends played in the current NBA, they would probably do some load management. Next, Michael Jordan himself did some load management. Next, if Michael Jordan played in the current NBA, he would probably do some load management. Next, Michael Jordan also retired twice in his prime. That allows him to rest. If he didn't do that, he might not have played as well. He might not have won. Next. If other players could do that, it might help them. Next. And Michael Jordan came back late in the regular season. Next. If other players could do that, it might help them. Next. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not judging Michael Jordan for retiring. But if Michael Jordan fans are going to question the current NBA players, then if they want to be fair and if they want to be consistent, then they should question Michael Jordan. Next. And don't get me wrong, when Michael Jordan retired twice in his prime, I am not claiming to know all of the reasons. But when he retired the first time, he basically explained that one of the reasons he retired was because he was burnt out. And the second time, I think part of the reason was because he was tired and he wanted to take a break. Next, Michael Jordan fans never have a set definition of what is load management. Is it missing practice? Is it playing less minutes? Is it missing a game? Is it missing more than one game? What counts as load management? They don't have a set definition. They just criticize pretty much any player that does anything that have to do with load management. Next, you also have to understand that owners are paying their players lots of money, so they are fine with load management because it can help the players stay healthy and it can help the players stay fresh, which means that they might have a better chance to win. Next, even if the owners did not agree with load management, they might allow it because it was part of the deal to sign the player, or they agreed to it after they signed the player, or they want to make sure that the player does not leave when they are a free agent, or they want to show that they are a good owner, or so that some other player or players can sign with them in the future. Next, you also have to understand that some of the stars today are dealing with more stress, so they might want to do some load management. Next, now let's assume that the past NBA players did not do as much load management as today. There could be a number of reasons why. For example, they do not get the same money. Or another example, they do not have the same job security. Or another example, they do not have the same rules when it comes to things like being a free agent. And there are more examples, but you get the point. Next, use some common sense. When a player wants to take a break because they're injured or tired or they're pacing themselves or something else that is reasonable, these are not bad things. Next, what is the bottom line? To win. So what if they do load management but they win? Then why is it a bad thing if they do load management? Next, Now, don't take this as a good thing or a bad thing. When it comes to some societies, it seems like lots of people in the past were more tougher than lots of people in the present time. How many times has an older person explained that things in their time were tougher, that back in their day things were tougher, that they had it tougher, and I'm sure that there are more examples, but you get the point. So if that is going to happen with people in general, it is probably going to happen with NBA players. Next, Michael Jordan fans have a contradiction. They act like today's NBA is not as tough because the players have this thing on load management. And they act like when Michael Jordan was in the NBA was the number one NBA time, the toughest time, the golden time, and the best time. But that is not true. Lots of people in those days were questioning the NBA, and you could make the point that Michael Jordan played in the worst NBA era. Next, look at what happened to some of the past players. Some of them got injured. Some of their careers were cut short. Some of them had at least one injury that never went away. Now sure, these things could have still happened even if they did more load management. And sure, these things can happen with today's players if they do some load management. But what if the past players would have had it easier if they did more load management? Next, what if today's players would have had it easier if they do more load management? Next, use some common sense. If someone wanted a break in something, you would understand that. Next, there is nothing wrong with taking care of your health. Health is the most important thing. Next, there is no fact to prove that load management is bad. Next, there is no fact to prove that today's NBA players started it. Next, there is no fact to prove that all of today's NBA players do it. Next, there is no fact to prove that no NBA player in the past did it. Hey, please subscribe. And if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.